To an Athlete Dying Young by A. Houseman. The poem gives a picture of contrary events of an athlete. The events are glory win and ugly ruin. His win of race was a big occasion along the market. People stood cheering by on the road while they carried him shoulder high. His death contrarily had cast silence in the people while they carried the dead body shoulder high onto the threshold. The poet says, glory does not stay for long, it rather fades much quicker than rose. Saddy night has undone the record win. Silence has prevailed to let him no cheers in future. The dead shall no more electrify young lads, nor honor shall uphold him. The poet wishes the dead should set him foot one more time on the winner cup before the cheer fades. Laurels had come to the dead at an early age. They may fade, but his glory small be an everlasting memory, unlike the quick fading garland of a girl. Okay, welcome to my YouTube channel, Bachelor and Master English. Today, as you have already heard, we are going to discuss a poem, To an Athlete Dying Young by British poet A. Houseman. In today's discussion, we shall be talking about the poem. There will be paraphrase and summary. There will be discussion in Nepali along with critical appreciation at the end. So before I begin my lesson, I would like to request you, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel. And if you think this video is worth watching, please like, share and comment on it. Okay, let's go with the poem. About the poem. To an Athlete Dying Young by the British Victorian poet A. Houseman is an image-rich and metrically steady poem that is directed to a young man who has died in the early death. It is an elegiac in tone. The poem focuses on a funeral held for an athlete who, as the title suggests, has died young. The speaker seems to praise the young man for departing early from his earthly life, but in doing so also reveals a general anxiety and perhaps confusion about the meaning of mortality. There are several important themes to take note of in this poem. These include youth, glory, death and fear. Nothing is revealed about the circumstances around the young man's death. Let's go with the paraphrase. It's a very simplified version of the poem. Now let's go with the summary. In this poem, the speaker begins by recalling a young athlete who won a small town race. He was celebrated by everyone around him. Now in the present, the athlete is being celebrated in a very different way. He has died and is being carried back home. He died gloriously and the speaker seems to praise him for it. The speaker follows this by providing the reader with a series of dark and thoughtful images that allude to the loss the town has suffered and the future the young man will never get to have. He also brings in images of the afterlife and the crown the young man will be wearing there. The poem tells us the story of a young athlete, the hero of his community, whose life has been cut. युवाकालमै मृत्युवरण गर्ने धावकप्रति ए. हाउसम्यान. युवाकालमै मृत्युवरण गर्ने धावकप्रति शीर्षकको कविता बेलायती भिक्टोरियन कालका कवि ए. हाउसम्यानले रचेका हुन्. यो कविता 4 हरफे 7 वटा अनुच्छेदमा लेखिएको छ. यसको अर्थात् 28 हरफमा यो कविता लेखिएको छ. यो कवितामा खास गरी एउटा जुन धावक छ उसले पहिला जित्दाखेरि, मेडल जित्दाखेरि, विजय हासिल गर्दाखेरि सहरका मान्छेहरूले सबै उसलाई चाहिँ काँधमा चढाएर सहर घुमाएर उसको चाहिँ विजयोल्लास मनाए। पछि त्यही मान्छे धेरै समयपछि बित्यो, तर चाहिँ सहरका मान्छेहरूले त्यसलाई साथ दिएनन् र उसको घरको ढोकामा लगेर चाहिँ उसलाई राखियो। त्यतिखेर सहरका मान्छेहरूले त्यसलाई केही वास्ता गरेन। अब यही प्रसङ्गमा जुन मान्छे जुन त्यतिखेर कति चर्चित थियो, पछि आएर त्यसको चाहिँ चर्चा एकाएक सेलाउँदै गयो। अब त्यो मृत्युले आखिरीमा चाहिँ कसैलाई पनि छोड्दैन। अनि बेलामा मान्छेले चाहिँ अब बिलौना गर्न सक्थे र कतिले बिलौना गरे, तर सहरका मान्छेहरूले त्यसलाई त्यति वास्ता गरेनन्। यो प्रसङ्गमा नै यहाँ चाहिँ कविता छ। अब जुन बेला हाम्रो सहरको लागि तिमीले दौड जितेका थियौ, हामीले तिमीलाई काँधमा बोकी बोकी बजार घुमाएका थियौँ र तिमीलाई घरमा ल्याइ छाडेका थियौँ। मानिसहरूले सडकको छेउमा उभिएर ताली बजाउँदै तिम्रो जय जयकार गरेका थिए। आज पनि आयौँ, तिमीलाई काँधमा बोकेर घर ल्यायौँ र तिमीलाई तिम्रो दैलोमा तल राख्यौँ। आज नगरवासीहरू चुपचाप थिए। ए फुर्तिला युवक, आज पनि धेरै कालसम्म प्रतिष्ठा नजोडिने मैदानमा समात्नै नसकिने गरी चाँडै भाग्यौ। किन तिमी मृत्युको मैदानको दौडमा पहिला भयौ? र हुन त लरेल वृक्ष अर्थात् प्रतिष्ठा चाँडै बढ्छ र गुलाबभन्दा चाँडै ओइलिन्छ। यो लरेल हुर्कनेर ओइल्याउने कुरा र तिमी चाहिँ चर्चामा आउने कुरा र चाहिँ चाँडै नै मृत्युवरण गर्ने कुरा उस्तै उस्तै छ। अन्धकार रातले आँखा चिम्लेकाले तिमीले मृत्यु दौडमा कायम राखेको खेलको नयाँ रेकर्ड देख्न सक्दैन र पृथ्वीले कान थुनेपछि रातमा जब मानिस सुत्छन् अनि तिम्रो जय जयकार भन्दा मौनता नराम्रो हुँदैन। अब आफ्नो प्रतिष्ठालाई माटोमा मिलाउने ठिटाहरूको होहल्लालाई तिमी चर्काउने छैनौ। अन्य धावकहरूलाई दौडमा उछिनेर तिमीले नाम कमाएका छौ र उनीहरूको त्यो नाम तिमीले हराएकोले उनीहरूभन्दा पहिले मरिसक्यो। त्यसैले तिमी पनि आफ्नो नामको प्रतिध्वनि सेलाउनुभन्दा अगावै आफ्नो छिटो दौडने खुट्टालाई प्रेतात्माको दैलोमा राख र अहिले रक्षा गरेर राखेको खप अर्थात् नमलाई होचो लिन्टलसम्म पुग्ने गरी उचालो। तिमी मरेपछि तिम्रो पूर्व प्रतिष्ठित टाउको वरपर जम्मा भएर भिडले तिम्रो शक्तिहीन शवलाई हेर्नेछन् र केटीको भन्दा छोटो माला अर्थात् तिम्रो छोटो जीवन मोडमा नओइलिएको अर्थात् नाम जिउँदै भएको फेला पार्नेछन्। यसरी यो कवितामा कविले जुन योद्धा, जुन धावक थियो, उसले चाहिँ चाँडै मृत्युवरण गरेको, उसले मृत्युलाई किन चाँडै रोज्यो त? मृत्युलाई चाँडै रोज्नमा पनि ऊ पहिला भएको हो कि? दौडेर मात्र पहिला होइन, मान्छे चाहिँ मृत्युवरण गर्नमा पनि पहिला भएको हो कि? त्यो चर्चा जुन एउटा सहरमा उसको जय जयकार अहिले किन हरायो त? आखिर मृत्युले एक दिन सबैलाई लाने रहेछ। युवाकालमै मृत्युवरण गर्ने धावकप्रति यो जुन कविता एउटा निश्चित कवितात्मक अन्त्यानुप्राससहित एएबीबीको चाहिँ अन्त्यानुप्रासको चाहिँ एउटा संरचनामा लेखिएको छ र यहाँ प्रतीकहरू प्रयोग गरेका छन्। यो चाहिँ एउटा शोक कविता हो, एलजी। ओके, द्याट्स ऑल विथ द डिस्कसन इन Nepali. Now let's go with the critical appreciation of the poem. Composed in 7 quatrains with the rhyme scheme AABB, a Houseman's poem might be trying to tell us that one should die when one's fame is at its peak. But when one lives as long as one grows older, one's fame may go down. Therefore, it is vain to be sorry at the famous man's death. Everyone always lives by his good name. The young athlete is cheered and glorified by the people when he wins the competition. A young man loses his life for others, but the glory does not stay any longer, and earlier honor withers soon. The dead sportsman cannot notice how people are deep to such records. There were some runners like the dead athlete, but their names died too before their death. The poet has implied the truth of modern political scenario where only the winners are heralded and cheered, and after the death they are forgotten. Death is the leveler. It knows no difference between king and commoner, athlete and coward. Event of death is ordinary for humans and creatures alike. Humans express shock over the death unlike other creatures. The poem tells of big men, conquerors, warriors and musclemen who could not resist death in the past. They shall resist it in no future. Fame, no doubt, prevails. The athlete in the poem would keep his memory alive for the record of the event he made in life. The Vedic philosophy trusts in a deed of philanthropy to the reward of God. The garland in the poem is a peculiar image. It has many meanings. The difference between the two crowning of garlands is the irony at the heart of the poem. The message is that death is the ultimate victor. The hero's crown of laurels, the esteem and tribute that the town pays the athlete on his victory, withers away like the floral headgear of a young girl. The message is that death is the ultimate victor. There is no other option. Death vanquishes everything, everyone. As promised by its title, the poem is directly addressed to the young man who has recently died. This young man is called the athlete. He is, of course, not part of this conversation, making the entire poem an apostrophe, literary device in which someone is being addressed to. The alliteration of cheering with cheered also creates a sense of poetic volume which emphasizes the jubilant atmosphere that surrounded the young athlete's win at the race. The poem starts with the speaker remembering when the athlete won a big race and the townspeople carried the athlete through the marketplace in celebration. They even carried him home. What nice box! There are 7 stanzas, I already mentioned in this poem, and each stanza has 4 lines. So the stanzas follows an AABB rhyme scheme throughout the poem. The rhyme scheme gives the poem a kind of rhythmic feeling, almost like a nursery rhyme. But nursery rhyme vibe doesn't seem to fit with the poem about death, or does it? The speaker is suggesting that the love and admiration the crowd felt for the victorious athlete in life would have been fleeting, fading as soon as he lost a race. The respect and love the crowd has for the athlete in death will last much longer and perhaps even be eternal. An athlete who ages and loses his age will eventually hear more boos than cheers. Finally, the aging athlete won't be able to compete and will never hear the roar of the crowd again. He will live in relative silence. The speaker is telling the athlete, the you, that since he is dead, he doesn't have to worry about swaying the rout, making the crowd bigger by adding himself to the ranks. What crowd, you ask? The speaker wants the mourners to hold up the athlete's trophy, the challenge cup, and the doorway of the athlete's tomb. Since the athlete dies at the height of his prowess and fame, the laurel on his head is still nice and fresh. The athletes should wake the earth again for their glory and honor to be revived. It is the bitter truth that today's human attitude has been changed. They don't show any empathy. The poet seems to be worried about the dead soldier. Life is more important than reputation after death. What is more important, a good name or life? Does it mean that a man with good name wants to die? Is not it the truth that what goes up must come down? Who will walk ahead, death or name? Can people become so indifferent like townsmen in the poem? To sum up, a Houseman's poem To an Athlete Dying Young is a sad, elegiac poem on the themes of youth and glory, indifference, fear and mortality. That's all with the discussion of To an Athlete Dying Young. I'm sure you got the points. If you have any queries, please put your ideas in my comment box. I shall be back with more educational videos, discussion of many literary pieces. Till then, have a nice time.